Hey everyone, I'm Jaden,
And I'm Noah.
and we are the Super Gamer Bros, and this is the Super Gamer Bros podcast.
Woo!
We are just a couple of brothers who love playing games and love talking about games, so that's what we do.
I feel like you say brothers like a trucker sometime.
You mean what, like Hulk Hogan
A
says it?
couple of exactly a couple of
Gotcha.
brothers.
Anyway, guys, today we are talking about Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy.
Is there actually a subtitle to this game? I did not know that.
Yeah, it's the Precursor Legacy.
Jaden, I am extremely excited to talk about Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy. As you know, we were PlayStation players since we first got our PS2 way back in the day. And we were huge, huge fans of Ratchet and Clank. All the big three PlayStation names back in the day were Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter, and Sly Cooper. So we
Yeah,
only
that's the
played
big three.
Ratchet and Clank. Some other people only played one of the other three. But I always had people telling me how good Jak and Daxter was, and I've seen gameplay of it, but I had never actually played it myself. And so, 20 years later, actually playing this series for the first time, and I love it. I really wish I had played it all those years ago. Of course, I'm still preferential to Ratchet and Clank, but I think Jak and Daxter is also a masterclass and deserves continuations like Ratchet and Clank have gotten over the years.
I'll be honest, I'm caught off guard by how high your praise was. Um,
Oh,
so Jak and Daxter originally came out in a year I don't remember because I did not look it up. So that one's on me. It was developed by Naughty Dog, very a studio that is synonymous with PlayStation throughout the entire course of the existence of PlayStation as a console series. On the PlayStation, the original PlayStation, they started with Crash Bandicoot, the Crash Bandicoot trilogy, CTR Crash Team Racing, that was all Naughty Dog. And then they made Jak and Daxter on the PS2 before, they went on to kind of Uncharted, Last of Us on the PS3, PS4, and beyond. So I guess for me, the interesting thing, because as you said, the big three, to us at least as it seemed, on the PlayStation 2 was Jak and Daxter, Sly Cooper, Ratchet and Clank. Um, I mean, we talked about Ratchet and Clank going commando. We are definitely Ratchet and Clank people here. And I know we had a friend that, at the very least, owned Jak 3, and he brought it over one time, and we played it like all night. Got stuck at one point. I can't remember where. And then that was our only experience with Jak and Daxter. Yeah, ever. And then PS3, I assume Sony is the one who decided to do it, but they had a lot of classic PS2 games remastered and re-released on PS3, including Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, and Sly Cooper, all three of those series. So obviously, me being the gaming nerd that I am, very interested in going back and playing some of those classic games that we never did. Got the Jak and Daxter collection on PS3, played it, and I'll say Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Nothing. I did not expect that one. It really kind of came out of left field for me because it is very different from Jak 2 and Jak 3. No, I think you can agree with that. It's
absolutely. They're completely different games. I mean, to be fair, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy was released in 2001.
oh, it was
And
close.
I don't want to say that it shows, but it is dated in its game style. It is a platformer first and foremost. But I told you when I first started playing this game, Jaden, I was not interested in it, and I stopped at one point, and I went back and I picked it up and went through the rest of the game and ended up loving it. At some point
Mm,
the gameplay just clicked for me.
yeah, I mean, because it's Crash Bandicoot, it's 3D platformer, a level-based game, um, linear levels. And Jak and Daxter is an open world, sort of. I should say it's yeah, I mean like an open world platforming game. It's not, one straight path like Crash Bandicoot is. It's you go in the levels, you explore the levels. Much like I guess you could say Spyro the Dragon was on PlayStation 1. Then Jak 2 and Jak 3 uh still kind of they keep the open world, but they actually become more like I honestly say they're almost like kid-friendly versions of GTA and how those games work. But yeah, so but Jak 3 being the only one I had experience with before playing the Precursor Legacy, I thought that it was going to be like that, and boy was it not. And it really threw me off guard. But like you said, I enjoyed it. I think I did have some issues with it, we'll talk about later, but overall I actually really enjoyed it because um you know collectathon platformers, which is what Precursor Legacy is, are games that I very much enjoy. I very much enjoyed Jak and Daxter. Anyway, that's Jak and Daxter. Let's get into the setting here. Noah, unless you had anything else you wanted to add.
No, I think that's pretty good.
So, Jak and Daxter is set on a fictional planet incorporating fantasy elements, which consists of small and not very technologically advanced settlements surrounded by varying environments and abandoned ruins. One major hub is Sandover Village, home of the two protagonists, Jak, a mute 15-year-old teenager, and his best friend Daxter, a loudmouth who, at the beginning of the game, is transformed into a fictional hybrid of an otter and a weasel called an ottsel.
I did not know that about Dexter until playing this game.
That he originally was a human,
Yeah, or wait, are
or
they human? Right.
no, they've
Whatever
got
they
like long
are.
elf ears. I don't know what they are. He falls into I don't know if you call it a vat, but just like a pool of dark eco. And eco is a type of energy which dominates the world and was created by an ancient race of beings known as the Precursors. They are implied by Samos Hagai at the beginning to be masters of the universe and creators of all life on the planet. The two boys live with Samos, who is the sage of green eco. So, yeah, that's kind of the background information for the game.
Yeah, I mean that's what
I
the
guess
world
just
is.
just
You're
going
just
off, yeah, I thought the precursors was a very interesting concept. It's kind of like one of those, ancient lost civilizations
right. That
that,
had high tech.
yeah, that they had very high. It's a very common. I don't even know if I should say common because I don't know how common it is, but me, Jade personally happens to have a lot of experience recently with that kind of backstory where you have that ancient, very high tech civilization. Something happened, some cataclysm, they're no longer around. But then, centuries later, however long, you have these kind of limited societies that
Right, the
have kind of
records.
some. What?
I thought you were talking about the records.
What records?
Well, you're
You mean like,
saying that the societies in the present are less advanced than the societies in the past.
yes,
So you spend the game finding records and stuff from the
gotcha.
old. Yes.
Yeah, pretty much. And, you know, kind of learning about some of their technology and stuff. Anyway, let's get into the story. Against Samos's warnings, Jak and Daxter make their way to the forbidden Misty Island. There, they see two unknown figures ordering lurkers to gather eco and precursor artifacts. The duo, worried by what they're seeing, prepare to leave, but are soon discovered by a lurker guard. Jak manages to kill it with an explosive device they found, but the resulting explosion sends Daxter into a pool of dark eco. He emerges transformed into an Ottsel, but is otherwise unharmed. Returning to their home of Sandover Village, they seek help from Samos, and Samos explains that Gall Acheron, the Dark Sage, can reverse the transformation. As Gall lives in the north, the boys look for a means of crossing the deadly Fire Canyon. Samos's beautiful daughter, Kira. Well, that's weird. That's a weird word choice.
Yeah, do you want to redo that one?
Uh, yeah, I don't know. I just take these from Wikipedia. I don't, I don't really read them sometimes.
Like they never
I
described her
don't,
that way in the game or anything, so I don't know
yeah,
why they
I don't
would
know.
do that.
Anyway, Samos's daughter Kira, a skilled engineer, offers to let them use her Zoomer, essentially a hover bike, in exchange for enough power cells to operate it. Yeah, Jak and Daxter begin their training in a nearby island called Geyser Rock, where they collect a few cells. Then they return to Sandover Village and explore a neighboring jungle, a beach off the village's coast, and Misty Island, which is accessible via speedboat after helping a local fisherman. After collecting enough cells, the heroes make their way through the Fire Canyon to Rock Village, the home of the Blue Sage. To their horror, the village has been attacked by a massive lurker known as Claw, and the Blue Sage has vanished. With the path forward blocked by Claw, the boys look for more cells and explore an abandoned underwater precursor city, an elevated basin filled with precursor technology, and a swamp across the village bay. Using the collected cells, Kira clears the path, allowing Jak and Daxter to defeat Claw, cross the mountain pass, and make their way into the ancient volcanic crater where the Red Sage dwells. With the Red Sage missing as well, Samos sends the boys to hunt for enough cells so Kira can upgrade the Zoomer's heat shield. At this time, the truth is revealed. The blue, red, and yellow sages have been abducted by Gaul and his sister Maya, who were the figures Jak and Daxter saw on Misty Island at the beginning of the game. And they intend to harness their combined power to extract the Dark Eco in their possession and use it to remake the world. However, Samos warns that if they open the silos containing the vast stores of Dark Eco deep underground, the Dark Eco will twist and destroy everything it touches. Jak and Daxter continue to look for more cells, exploring a dark cave filled with lurker spiders and a mountainous tundra by the volcano's summit. Making their way through the lava tunnels leading to Gaul and Maya's citadel, the boys run into Kira, who reveals that Samos has also been captured. With the four sages now under their control, the Acheron siblings begin restoring their excavated automaton so they can release the Dark Eco from its silo. After rescuing the sages from captivity, Jak and Daxter intercept the machine and engage it in battle. However, they only manage to destroy its eco weapons. Realizing a greater power is needed to defeat Gaul and Maya, Samos and the blue, red, and yellow sages combine the four different types of eco into one, creating light eco. Daxter contemplates using the light eco to return himself to normal, but ultimately allows Jak to use it instead. Unable to escape the cockpit of their destroyed machine, Gaul and Maya plunge into the silo and are presumed dead. Also, weird word choice by Wikipedia to use presumed there because I'm pretty sure they're just dead.
Yeah, they died.
Yeah, I feel like presumed implies that they will come back later. No, they're dead. Anyway, with the world saved, the group focuses its attention on unlocking the fabled Precursor door, which can only open with the energy of 100 power cells. Once the door is opened, it reveals a large, mysterious object enveloped in a blinding light. The object itself is kept a mystery until the second game. Classic Naughty Dog move there, having your 100% ending that kind of plays right into the beginning of the next game.
That is classic.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah, I was
excuse me,
gonna
that's
say,
the story.
overall, not a bad story.
Not bad. It's very simple. Honestly, it is so interesting to me. Probably the most interesting thing about playing Jak and Daxter was seeing was seeing Naughty Dog as like a game developer kind of go through the shift of Crash PS1 platforming to Uncharted and kind of the way their games are now. It's very interesting to see that transition, and you kind of see it happen through the entirety of the Jak and Daxter series. Because I guess you could see it in Crash a bit, but Crash as a series has very basic stories. They do get more complex as as the series goes along, but the stories in Crash Bandicoot are very, very simple. And then with Jak and Daxter, and as this series goes on, you can tell that they are becoming heavily invested in telling these interesting stories. That there's more cutscenes, more dialogue, more just kind of more story there, and it's very interesting to see kind of that transition.
Absolutely. I mean, the difference in storytelling between the first and second game even is insane. I mean,
Yeah,
Jack is a silent protagonist in the first game.
he is, and
Yeah, I
that is
kind of
very
liked
much
him better
continuing.
silent.
Yeah, that is very much continuing from their Crash roots, where Crash was just silent protagonist as well. You know what? I'll go ahead and talk about this now. Noah, Daxter is annoying, and I don't like him.
I know you've said that multiple times before, but I actually really like Daxter. I
Um,
think he's exactly what the game needs, especially with a silent protagonist.
he's very loud and very selfish.
Yeah, I thought he was gonna be like Clank, who, doesn't really have too much of a personality, but I like that he is this goofy comedic relief, he's selfish, you're right. He hits on all the women that show up in all the games, even though
He
he's not
does do
even
that.
human anymore.
He does do that. Yeah.
But I like that. I think that's what makes him his character and makes him unique to the other PlayStation classics.
I suppose what you said is technically correct. He is unique. I don't know. I think honestly, in probably the most annoying thing about him, especially in the first game compared to the rest, is the fact that I don't know when else we'd talk about this. We'll go ahead and talk about it now. When you die in this game, there's always a cutscene that plays of Daxter like getting on top of your body, and he'll say something to you like, like a game over screen, almost
It's
like you
usually
could
making
say,
fun of you.
yeah, usually making fun of you, being like, "Hey, like, how am I supposed to get back to normal now, Jack?" and stuff like that. That I hate that, and I'm pretty sure that goes away in the future games. But I do absolutely hate that when he like is yelling at you like that.
I think it's hilarious. It reminds
I
me of the Arkham game over screens.
Well, see,
But
that's what I
it's
was
your
thinking as
buddy,
well.
it's
But
funny.
uh, I did not enjoy it. I could tell. I'm like, yeah, I get it. You guys are going for humor here, but man, you did not. Yeah, he's just annoying. I don't know. Maybe if I played the game when I was younger, obviously this is a game I guess intended for children. Maybe if
Plus
I
the
had done
gaming
that, I
itself
would have
has
thought it was
changed.
funner, more funnier. I mean, what do you mean by that?
Back when this game came out, it was pretty revolutionary. These games were
Oh, a
the
million
best of the
percent. No, you
best,
are
but
absolutely
when you play
correct.
them today, the games today are light years ahead of games back then.
I mean, I think you're correct, but I don't think there's anything. I don't know. I think the a good game can stand the test of time and still be fun. Yeah, despite being older, and I think like Crash does that very well. And I'm not even saying Jak and Daxter does not do that very well. I think it does it pretty well. There are just a few things about it that I think don't hold up. And even then, I would argue my biggest complaint with the entire Jak and Daxter franchise implies is in Jak 2. It's not even in this game.
So then it doesn't exist yet.
Yeah, anyway, let's just keep going here with the gameplay. Noah, why don't you tell us about the gameplay? More specifically, tell us about the combat.
All right, so the combat in Jak and Daxter, the lurkers are everywhere in this game. So Jak must utilize his combat prowess to take them down. Jak is equipped with a basic punch attack and uppercut if crouched, a spin kick in the air, and more. He can also use Eco to help him take down enemies and progress through the game. Eco is the magical energy that Jak utilizes throughout his journey. There are 6 kinds. Green refills Jak's health. Blue, used to interact with precursor machines like doors and spring pads. Yellow allows Jak to fire projectiles. Red increases attack power. Dark, not used by Jak yet. And finally, light, used in the final boss battle alone. The combat in this game is, it's very minimalist. It reminds me a lot of Crash Bandicoot, but
I would say
well,
more. It reminds me of Spyro.
yeah, also that.
Yeah.
Um, but I think it's fun, it doesn't really get old. The problems I had with it were the clunky controls on old games and the weird kind of like platforming sections, I guess. But the combat was where I thought this game did its best work. I mean, I just like games like this where you have one set of moves and you just have to hit an enemy once for them to die, and the only trick to combat is dodging their attacks.
Yeah, I mean, some enemies do take more hits, which is, I mean, is fine. I think See, I feel like Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, is the quintessential collectathon platformer in the level design and the enemies, because it's like you said, you have a few different moves. Your basic punch, you have an uppercut, you have spin kick, you have like a kind of dive bomb attack, different kind of combos you can do, very basic combos, but they are combos. And that's it. And as you said, you have to dodge enemy attacks and get your shots in where you can, because there isn't like a beat 'em up combat system in this game. And there are different enemies to kind of make it fresh. Some that take more hits to kill, or maybe have different items, whatever armor tools that make that you have to approach them a bit differently. And yeah, it fits with the game. It's certainly not something I have any complaints about.
I agree with what you said completely. This is the quintessential combat in a collectathon. I don't know, it's just so textbook.
Yeah, I know you say it is textbook. It's like if you play a collectathon platformer like say Spyro, or even probably a better example would be Banjo Kazooie. It's just like that. I also wanted to talk about Eco for a second. I do think Eco is, again, along with the Precursor, it's the thing. It's the unique thing that is supposed to separate this from other collectathon platformers. Because I mean, yeah, when you get down to it, most collectathon platformers, they have the same basic gameplay, same basic concept, but then they add the one thing to kind of make it different. Like Banjo Kazooie does, you get to use Kazooie, this bird, that's in Banjo's backpack, that you can use her for different kind of platforming things. Like she can run faster and jump higher on like certain pads and fly and stuff like that. And with Jak and Daxter, their thing is eco, which, as Noah said, green just refills health, blue allows you to interact with stuff, yellow allows Jak to fire projectiles. I think that's obviously probably the most useful in terms of combat and stuff. And then red increases his attack power. Again, I'm just repeating what Noah said. I don't know why. Probably my one of my few complaints about this game is I do wish the eco was used more than it was, because, as we said, this is the thing. This is the thing that makes Jak and Daxter different, and especially I feel like yellow eco, since it is used as like it's your combat eco, you could basically say, giving you projectile attacks. Yeah, I wish it was used more, because it is a very interesting concept. I thought it was very, very, again, for being the Jak and Daxter, hey, this is the thing that makes it different. I thought it was very cool.
Absolutely.
Anyway, now I'm gonna go ahead and get into traversal. So, Jak and Daxter, the Precursor Legacy, as we have already said many times, is a 3D platformer. There are 16 levels to explore and collect items with Jak's maneuvering abilities. This is a cool one. He's got a double jump, a high jump, and a long jump. And he also has a crouch and a roll. So, the vast majority of your game is spent running around the levels, collecting items to progress through the game. You're platforming. I mean, that's a majority of what you're doing. I do like the different jumps. Yeah, this was actually the first platformer that I can think of, really, where there was this kind of the rolling long jump. And let me tell you, he jumps far with that jump. I don't know why, but that rolling long jump, just, I really loved it. I think even it was just my main method to get around, because I think it was faster than just running.
After I discovered it, it was.
Well, see, that I'll say the game does not tell you about it. I in the I think in one of the earliest levels, Sandover Village, there are three precursor orbs. We'll talk about those in a second. That are on, like, it's a like a I don't know, a pillar basically, and I spent so long trying to figure out how to get to that damn, like, trying to jump, trying to double jump, high jump, and use like the spin, because like in the air spin also kind of lets you glide for just a few seconds, and could not figure it out. And I finally, like, in the first level of this game, I had to look up a video for like how to get these items, because I thought maybe there was an ability I didn't have unlocked or something that would show me, oh, this is what I have to do. And then they just, yeah, in the video, they just did the long jump and got it. And I was like, oh man, I wish the game told me about that.
Yeah, that's exactly what happened to me. I got to this one point where there was a collectible, and I tried for like a half hour. I tried for like a half hour just to double jump because I would like clip the edge and fall. So in my head, I was like, okay, I can make it up there. I'm just,
Timing it wrong.
I'm just timing it wrong. Yeah, I'm just not jumping right. And after that half hour of just doing it over and over and over again and not being able to do it, I looked it up and some guy's like, "Oh yeah, this is super easy. You just roll and jump." And then he launched himself and I was like, "What the heck?" But it was like you said, in every single game after I discovered that, instead of running around, I just roll jumped everywhere.
Yeah, I do actually have an issue with the roll jump.
Is it that you can't change direction in the air?
No, but it sort of has to do with direction. I'll talk about it later when I talk about what I don't like about the game because it's honestly the only thing. So I'm just gonna save
Okay.
it for that part.
I do want to say that
Um,
the traversal and the platforming in this game, especially for how old it is top notch.
it's for the most part very good. I agree with you. It holds up very well. Anyway, I'm also gonna now. Typically, we do this in a setting. Do it now. Take you through a list of the levels. There is Geyser Rock, Sandover Village, Sentinel Beach, Forbidden Jungle, Misty Island, the Fire Canyon, Rock Village, the Lost Precursor City, the Precursor Basin, the Boggy Swamp, the Mountain Pass, the Volcanic Crater, Spider Cave, Snowy Mountain, the Lava Tube, and Goal in Maya's Citadel. I did actually like, because again, not reading the story descriptions before we do the episodes, um, that in the story description, it actually kind of gave a short, brief description of all the levels. You know, when it said like, oh, Jack explored an underwater precursor city and oh, a snowy mountain at the peak of the volcano, stuff like that. Like that just describing to you the levels of the game in the story, and I actually like that.
Oh yeah, the
Um,
levels were great and I love how they connected.
yeah, so that's one of I think my big praises for Jak and Daxter is it is the only collectathon platformer I have played, you know, from the olden days that it is all interconnected. There are no Spyro portals to get to the levels. You just straight up walk there and platform there. Like there are no loading screens. It is all well, that's sometimes, but there's basically no loading screens, and it's all just yeah, it's all just connected. And I think for 2001 PS2 game, I thought that was very impressive. And it's certainly, as I said earlier, kind of like, oh, it's open world, but it's not really open world. It's what to me really gives the game kind of an open world feel is the fact that everything is just connected like that.
Yeah, no, it definitely makes the game feel unique. And one funny thing about it is I would forget where an area was when I was going for like collectibles in the late game,
Uh-huh.
and I'd have to look up where a specific area was.
Yeah, I avoided that by if we want to talk level design here, Jak and Daxter, they Precursor Legacy, they did it. They did the good thing where you can complete a level the first time you were there, which a lot of collectathon platformers do this thing where you can't get all of the items in this level because you don't have this ability yet, so you have to leave and come back to this level later. And obviously it makes sense to do that because you want people to use these new abilities. So, oh hey, you have to go back to like, hey, you just got the double jump, so now you can go back to level one and get those few collectibles that you couldn't get because you needed double jump. A lot of collectathon platformers do that, and while I understand it, I absolutely hate it because being the perfectionist that I am, I want to complete the levels as I'm going through them and not have to go back. And Jak and Daxter, thankfully, does that. You can complete every level the first time that you're in them. So that's how I did it. So I never had to actually backtrack to any levels.
I didn't know it was like that you could get all the collectibles the first time through.
Yeah, yeah, no, it is, and I like that. Also, I do want to say that this is one of those games you'll typically see it on lists of games that cleverly disguise loading because in this game, no, I don't know if you remember, but a lot of times when you're running around as Jack, he's a clumsy boy. He trips and falls a lot. As
No, I
you're
don't
entering
remember that.
yeah, as you're entering new areas, not all of them, because again, it gives the game an appearance of being all one simultaneous huge world, while still having to load new areas in because it is a 2001 PlayStation 2 game. Yeah, like as you're running to an area, Jack will just trip and fall down and very slowly get up, and that's them just giving the game time to load the new area you're entering.
That
So
is
that's a
really
fun little thing.
clever.
Yeah, clever loading screens are very fun, and honestly, kind of something that is like makes me slightly sad that loading screens are kind of becoming a thing of the past.
Yeah, I do. It's like a clever way of the developers showing that they are able to hold the immersion.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and that's something that's been, hiding loading screens has been going on since at least as far back as I know, the original Resident Evil, and it's always fun to see. Anyway, so yeah, as we move on to our additional gameplay mechanics here, just talk about kind of levels. As we said, collectathon platformer. Each level contains missions to do, enemies to fight, and power cells, precursor orbs, and scout flies to collect. Collecting power cells that's the kind of main collectible that progresses you through the game. There's typically, I think, like 7 per level, and that's like the equivalent to the jigsaw pieces in Banjo Kazooie, or to the if you're playing Spyro games, the dragon statues or the like dragon eggs in Spyro 3. You know those. You have the one collectible that like, hey, this is what gets you through the game in terms of story.
The one you have to collect.
The one you have to collect. And so just to kind of give, brief description of those collectibles, we're actually going to do collectibles now. The power cells, they progress you through the game. They're basically ancient precursor artifacts that can power up ancient machinery and modern machinery as Kira builds kind of modern things. The precursor orbs, they're little egg looking things. Like they're called orbs, they look like eggs. They have kind of ancient precursor writing on them. I feel like they're one of the most iconic looks in gaming. Like the floating eggs, they're referenced a lot in other games. Yeah, they are the Spyro gems, Banjo Kazooie musical notes of Jak and Daxter. There are hundreds and hundreds of them in each level. I think total. Oh god, I think total there's 2,000 of them in the game. And it's like there's more as you progress through. Like in the first series of levels, there's like 400 in each level. In the second series of levels, there's 500 and 700, whatever. And they're just found everywhere. I do credit Jak and Daxter that most of them are very, just in the way. You're going to find them as you're exploring. Some of them can be pretty well hidden. And again, just because of the fact that there's so many, I think, yeah, some of them are a little more well hidden and can be missed. I know when I played through the game, I probably had to look up probably at least one group per level because the levels themselves are actually big. I don't think we commented on the size of them, but they're decent. They're decently sized levels. And yeah, so when you're missing just a few precursor orbs, going back through the levels looking for them could be a bit annoying, but that's just a standard collectathon thing. And then the scout flies, they're, kind of like look kind of like dragonflies maybe. They're just in these boxes. You find them. There's 7 in every level, and it's just you collect all of them. You get a power cell. That's kind of all there is to those.
I'd say they look robotic.
Yeah, they're kind of like that. I don't know. I guess a comparison to those would be like the Jinjos and Banjo Kazooie. You just every level collect them and get a power cell. Again, typically not. They're probably they're a little bit more well hidden, but I don't think I ever had to look up a location of any of the scout flies. I found them all every time. And yeah, I mean that's it. It's basically the same thing of everything you're doing in this game is just to get power cells. Even the other collectibles, the precursor orbs and the scout flies, you just get power cells because precursor orbs, it's a precursor artifact, so they're kind of valuable, and people will trade you for them. And they'll give you a power cell. As you're running through a map, you'll run into a guy like, hey, I'll give you this power cell for some precursor orbs, and it's like, oh, trade 200 precursor orbs for a power cell. So again, it's like all the collectibles are sort of needed to progress through the story, but power cells are like the big one. Um,
Absolutely. But
um,
it's like you said, none of them are really that bad. And it is fun to
yeah,
collect them. That is, the staple of these
yeah.
collectathons.
Especially if you're just going through this game trying to beat the story, you're not trying to do 100% completion. I think you will not need a guide. I think you can very much easily find as much as you need to actually just progress through the story. Anyway, missions slash objectives. So these are small tasks to complete to unlock. Guess what? Power cells. Missions range from there are some races. There are like just platforming challenges, interacting with kind of precursor remains. whatever that word is, ruins. I don't know, and helping the various denizens of the world. In a lot of levels, I mean, the best comparison to this, I feel like, is again, Banjo Kazooie Spyro. You just encounter people, and they're like, hey, can you help me with this thing? And then you help them with that thing, and they give you a power cell. Yeah, and I mean, there are a bunch of small things you can do. At one point, you just like, there's one guy you have to fish 200 pounds of fish, scare a bird, rescue some. I don't know if it's get some. They're not called cows. I forget what they're called in this game, but they're basically cows, and put them back in their pen. Just random miscellaneous things like that.
Yeah,
Noah
I mean
has
the
no
missions
comment. Oh,
are well, I mean I didn't know if you were done.
yeah,
The missions are definitely one of the most fun parts of this game, because it's basically collecting still, but it's collecting with extra steps, and it makes it feel like, you're doing something other than what you have been the whole time,
yeah. I
even
mean,
though you're not.
it's basically like mini games. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just,
Exactly.
hey, here, take 5 minutes to do this different thing, and cool, you get a power cell, and you got to do something that isn't just running around and fighting lurkers for a short time. Anyway,
Right.
bosses. There are 3 boss fights. There's the Dark Eco Plant. There's Claw, and Gaul and Maya and their giant mech. I praise these boss fights actually because in a lot, a lot of 3D platformers, collectathon platformers, the boss fights are usually not great. And even if you want to look at this point, Naughty Dog and their history of boss fights with the Crash Bandicoot series, typically not great. And I actually liked the boss fights in Jak and Daxter. I think they were difficult. I struggled with all of them a decent amount. And yeah, I mean, they're fun. Yeah, I liked them. I don't know what else to say, really.
Yeah, I did not think they were hard. I did think they were just fun and memorable. Yes, a grav zoomer.
A Grav Zoomer is a type of hover bike that Jak can ride. There are a few levels where you must maneuver through on the Zoomer to reach the next area. It's kind of like a fast-paced obstacle dodging. You have some like power cells you can collect, precursor orbs that you have to you can kind of run through. It's kind of like once you get to the end, you can just transport back to the beginning to kind of go through again to get stuff, branching paths, that kind of thing. You know what I'm talking about. And there is, I believe, one level in the game itself, like one of the, I guess you say, quote unquote, platforming levels, one of the regular levels that is actually done like entirely on the Zoomer, where you have ring races and precursor orbs to collect and whatever. I'll be honest, that was probably one of my least favorite levels in the game, the kind of open Zoomer level, because it can be a little weird to control. But the obstacle racing kind of levels, when you're going through the volcano, when you're going through that first area. Those I really enjoy. I really enjoy those kind of point to point dodge stuff, take branching paths, and get to the end without dying challenges. I actually really enjoy those in games.
I enjoyed that too, but I also enjoyed the free roam zoomer parts
Yeah, I don't know.
because they had those ones where you would have to like chase certain things along a track,
Yes,
and
that
you could
is
like
something you
cut
did.
it off and stuff like that. I thought those were fun. It's if you mess up, it's not like restart and do it again. You're just in the area,
Now I know if I remember correctly. I mean that level. I don't know what it was about it, but I struggled and I hated it. And I think it's that level is what made me, I think, like almost give up playing through the game. I did not like that level. I think that's the precursor basin is that one. Yeah, it just did not like it. Again, the racing parts, the fast paced kind of parts, I did like. Having to kind of go back through them to take the different branch of paths to get the stuff is, kind of slightly annoying, just because I like being able to get everything in one go if you're good enough and whatever. But I just like this. It's pretty quick to get through, and just anyway. Now we talk about notable trophies, and let me tell you, Noah, there's none. Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy has probably one of the most simple and straightforward trophy lists in any game I've played. Really, the entire series, where all you have to do is 100% the game. Like there's trophies for different story checkpoints, and then there's like the bronze, silver, gold levels of collect X amount of precursor orbs, scout flies, and power cells, with the gold level being all of them. You do not have to do anything extra in this game, anything special. It's just if you 100% the game, you'll get the platinum trophy.
I mean, to be
So I
fair,
guess
when this game was made, there weren't trophies.
no, I mean that's very true, but sometimes because really when you whenever you have a classic game like this that is then like ported to a newer console that does and they do add trophies or achievements if you're an Xbox guy. We typically call them losers, but whatever you want to call them.
Hey, whoa.
um, they'll do one of two things. They'll either one make it very straightforward, basically just beat the game, which is what Jak and Daxter is, or they will make them incredibly hard and kind of like you have to do a bunch of different things that varying levels of difficulty, but some of them could be very hard to do. And Jak and Daxter went the simple route, which I mean there's nothing wrong with that, because I always wonder how different developers view trophies, achievements, and I imagine most of them think they're just an inconvenience that they have to do because it is a requirement to have a game on Xbox, PlayStation. And some of them do, I think, make good trophy lists, and equally as much, if not more. I feel like just looking through the trophy list gives me the impression that this is probably the last thing they did, and they're just doing it because they have to. They're just doing their homework.
Absolutely. 100%.
Yeah.
It's a shame,
Can you?
though.
Yeah. No, it's a shame because I love them and interesting trophies, interesting trophy names. Like I will always appreciate and laugh if I see some funny trophy names in there, and I'm like, see, these guys like they had fun with it. Anyway, now we move on to our questions. Noah, favorite level?
I'm gonna go with Sentinel Beach.
Ooh, that's a fun one.
Um,
It's a very
yeah,
good like
Sentinel
early
Beach
level.
is yeah, it's a level in the early game, and it just sticks in my mind. To me, like when I think of the game, that's the level I think of, and that's also where I struggled on my jump section.
It's a fun one. It's very early. It's the level that I think technically is kind of pointed at as that's the first level you're supposed to do outside of Sandover Village. And it is the thing that kind of introduced me to how this was just an open world game where all the levels were connected, because it's like I'm running there and then all of a sudden my collectibles have like reset and I'm like, "Oh, okay, this like I guess I'm in the level now." I guess that's how this works. And like you said, introduce you to kind of doing the different missions and stuff and how those worked. It actually has some like underwater orbs that you kind of can just like do like a quick dive under to grab. Yeah, it certainly it had a lot of different elements to it. I think it was a fun level. I agree. I think that's a good choice.
What's your favorite?
My favorite was probably the spider cave because I feel like that was the most confusing level to run through because it's caves. There's tons of different levels and pathways, and it's a very confusing level layout. I wouldn't say I got stuck, but it's just it's like an intricate series of caves, tunnels, and stuff underground. And I just found it very easy to get lost in, and the missions I feel like were very kind of hidden. Like there's I think it's like 7 of these worm-like creatures that are going around these like stalagmites and stalactites. They come out of holes and go back in holes, and you have to kill all of them for a power cell. But the game doesn't tell you that. I think accidentally killed one with like yellow eco and unlocked like and it just like popped up like one of 7 or something like that. Yeah, it was a very confusing level, and I don't know why, but just the fact that like I did it, I did that entire level without looking anything up and found everything, and with how like I would probably say it's the hardest level in the game, and just I don't know, just something about the fact that I was able to do everything without looking it up, despite how difficult it was. It just made me feel proud.
No, you should feel proud. That is definitely one of the hardest levels in the game. I also figured out the killing the worms without looking it up.
Yeah, I just remember I just killed one, and I think just it was just like to see if I could or something, and the thing popped up, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess I have to do that now. No, your favorite boss battle?
My favorite boss battle is Scrawl.
You mean Claw?
Oh, did I say scroll? My
You
bad.
did say scroll.
Chlor.
Claw.
It's spelled so weird.
Well, it's just got two W's.
That's not. It's got a K.
Oh, okay, sorry. The K's what threw you off?
It is. Yeah, I just thought he was the most interesting one outside of Gol and Maya, who were obviously the antagonists of the game.
Yeah, Gall and Maya. Their mech was my favorite. It was a very tough boss fight. I think I died pretty late into it a few times, and classic collectathon platformer, no boss checkpoints. So got a little frustrated. But Gall and Maya's last boss fight is the again, you want to talk about Jack being quintessential collectathon platformer. It is the quintessential collectathon platformer boss fight. You dodge attacks, dodge attacks, dodge attacks, dodge attacks, collect yellow eco and shoot back at any point you can. And as the fight gets on, the attacks get more intricate, harder to dodge, harder to jump, harder to whatever. You use both blue eco to maneuver and dodge attacks, to launch yourself up to like escape explosions and stuff, and yellow eco to fight. It's using all the stuff from the game that you've learned in this mad few minutes to take them out. I really enjoyed it. No, any miscellaneous things you liked?
Miscellaneous things I liked. I like the side missions and a lot of the side characters.
Mm.
In a game like this where the protagonist is silent, it relies heavily on the side characters to cover for that. And I think they do. It's a lot of comedic relief.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's very yeah, again, talking about Naughty Dog becoming the Uncharted people and that transition with this series, and having Nathan Drake, who is very quippy, sassy character, and seeing that basically like every character is like that in this game. It's meant to be that kind of funny, like, yeah, you're kind of the guy who's going to save the world, but also we're going to make fun of you the whole time, kind of thing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I agree with you. A lot of the characters are, I think, humorous and funny. I think Daxter sucks, but the rest of them, I agree with you.
No, Daxter's the
Yeah,
best. Damn it, Jaden.
nah. I hope he dies if they ever make another Jak and Daxter. Um,
You know what? I hope they make another Daxter for for main consoles.
oh wow, I never even played Daxter.
No, I never played it either, but I know it exists, and I
It
think that
does
would be
exist, yeah.
funny.
It's actually, I think, considered like one of the better PSP games of all time. Like, I think if you watch like any kind of top PSP games list, Daxter is on it. Like a
I
good
did not know
spin-off.
that.
I'm pretty sure, but maybe I'm wrong. But I think it's considered like a very good spin-off at the very least. Oh, my miscellaneous thing I like is I can't tell you how surprised I was that I was up at like 2 a.m. probably beating the final boss of this game. I beat it. The credits roll, and I see that Gol Acheron, main antagonist of Jak and Daxter, is voiced by 80s hair metal frontman of Twisted Sister D. Snyder, which is absolutely insane to me. And I just thought it was the coolest thing ever. I'm like,
That
what the?
is so
I,
random.
I was like, what the hell? D. Snyder's in this? Because as far as I'm aware, because I've seen like interviews and stuff he's done outside of music. He's a really cool dude, but I don't think he's ever struck me as a big video game guy. And yeah, just the fact that I'm like, how the hell? Like, who did Naughty Dog know that they got D. Snyder to voice Gull in this game? It's so out of nowhere. Like you say, it was just so random.
Very, very random.
But yeah, I thought it was awesome. Anyway, Noah, what you didn't like about the game?
I don't like that a lot of old games, they are not so good in their tips and their hints in the tutorial or throughout the game for that matter. And my biggest highlight for this issue is the fact that the roll jump, the long jump, the game never tells you about, and it's a crucial feature.
Yeah, game straight up. Unless we both somehow missed it, yeah, the game just straight up never mentions it. Anyway, yeah, probably my biggest thing is Noah. You mentioned it earlier. We both have kind of mentioned it. Is Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy is a 2001 PlayStation 2 platforming game. Being a PlayStation 2 platforming game, um, an older one, you deal with some old platformer kind of weird stuff, weird control stuff, weird environment interaction stuff that is nothing more than just being a product of its time. And as we both have said, the game does age pretty well, I think, but there are some instances where it does not. And for me, as I was playing through, I found specifically with platforming, what I would say was like an annoying number of issues with controls and stuff. I feel like probably around 70% of the time I died when it came to platforming was more was more the game's fault than mine. I feel like it was like some stupid weird thing that happened with the environment or something with the controls. And I didn't like that, Noah. I didn't like that one bit.
Yeah, absolutely. These
Um
old games, their controls are shaky a lot.
yeah, and probably the biggest thing, like probably my only complaint about just platforming in general is the long jump, the roll jump. No, I don't know if you noticed this, but if you do the roll jump, Jack does it in the way that Jack is facing, not the way the camera's facing, the way that Jack is facing.
Yeah.
And that got me so many times where I would just roll jump off a cliff to my death because I had the camera pointed the right way and I did not have Jack pointed the right way, and I was very annoyed by that.
Yeah, I could see that happening. That only happened to me a few times.
Yeah, that happened to me, and I mean, not even just in the first game, the entire goddamn series that happened to me a lot. And yeah, that's just something that pissed me off a lot. I was getting really mad. But yeah, that's my big complaint about the game. Is just the classic PlayStation 2 platformer issues that arise from just being an older, just being the game. I mean, every game from that time period suffered the same things. Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, what's Psychonauts. It's just something of that time period that just was issues that I assume that developers and stuff just didn't necessarily know how to deal with it, and they just accepted it as a necessary evil. And I accept that. I'm not. It's not a deal breaker for me unless it's really bad. And I mean, sometimes even the weirdness of it can actually be used to your advantage. But yeah, I certainly had a lot of issues with um, Jak and Daxter specifically of just struggling with different stuff like that. Anyway,
Final thoughts?
replayability.
Oh, shoot.
I would say of the entire Jak and Daxter series, I think this is the most replayable to me because it is the most different. And I like collectathon platformers. I would replay this one.
I will definitely give you the fact that out of the whole series, this is the most replayable. I have not yet. Well, I guess I did technically play it twice. So yeah, I would call it replayable.
Yeah, it's cool. Anyway,
Now, final
um,
thoughts.
now final thoughts. I think I've kind of driven it into the ground throughout this episode, but I think it is the quintessential collectathon platformer. The openness of it, the levels are all very interesting and fun. I think backstory is interesting and fun. I again, to me, even more than anything, it's a fun little time capsule to see as Naughty Dog is kind of shifting their approach to making games from Crash Bandicoot to Jak and Daxter to then what would eventually be Uncharted. Like it's a fun one. I think for Big Three PS2, it's definitely worth a play. I think Noah, you mentioned it perfectly earlier. Of the big three, Ratchet and Clank is my favorite. There might be a little bit of bias in that. I personally don't think there's bias there, but some people would probably say there is. But it's still a solid game. I think the entire trilogy was like re-released on PS4, and thus you can play it on PS5. You have a PS5, and I think if you're kind of someone like me and Noah, that you're sitting there and like want to kind of explore those classic games, I think this is a good one to pick up.
I completely agree with what Jaden said. This is a quintessential platformer. Not only that, this game is drastically different from the next two Jak and Daxter games, and that alone makes it stand out as unique. And the first game will always be the game I remember the most.
Well said. Anyway, that is Jak and Daxter: The Precursor Legacy. Now, Noah, it is time for the indie bit, the bit where we talk about indie games.
Ooh, ooh.
Today, we're talking about Endling Extinction is Forever. So, a little synopsis about Endling Extinction is Forever. You play as a mama fox. Mama fox, she has her three little babies, well, four little babies. I guess I feel like it's not necessarily too much of a spoiler in the synopsis to say that one of them is kidnapped early on, so you have three that you're kind of taking care of. And you're in kind of like, it's like a post-apocalyptic world. Humanity is like dwindled to just a few sparse survivors, and basically, this mama fox is just trying to survive, and I think she's like literally the last fox alive. And then she has her babies, and you're and she's just trying to survive and keep her babies alive throughout this game. How that works is the game works in nights, because fox is nocturnal, and the so basically you go out every night and you have to hunt and get food to feed your babies. Starting like night 5 or 6, they start going out with you. Um, so you have to hunt and keep them fed. You have to protect them from any potential threats. And yeah, it's a game. It works like you go out. Each night is timed because you have to get back to your den before the sunrise. I don't know what happens if you don't, but it's honestly terrifying. And yeah, I mean, basically, you just hunt. You just hunt and feed your babies, and then go back. And explore the map, which is actually pretty decently large. The game does also kind of play with perspective a bit, where as you're kind of going along like a 2D set path, and then you'll see kind of ledges either behind you or maybe in front of you that you climb or drop down, and then the camera will turn, and you're now on kind of a different plane, but still going on a set 2D path. You explore the world. Your pups unlock abilities as you like, if you kind of can find where they would unlock these abilities, because it is kind of optional to get those, but they are useful in helping you get food for your pups. And every few nights, something happens, that a cutscene or like something happens that kind of changes, maybe unlocks new areas for you to explore in, or eventually you do actually have to leave your dens and like find a new one. You do that. I think there are three total. There are three total dens you go through in the game. I have not beaten the game yet, but I mean, yeah, that's basically how it works. Your pups can straight up die. Like if they die, they're dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah, no, if they die, they're dead. I think no matter what, to beat the game, one of them still has to live. But yeah, no, they just die, and they're dead. So you actually do. Yeah, there's no retries here. You gotta keep them alive and keep them fed. And I mean, yeah, that's the game. I enjoyed it. It's I mean, it's stressful sometimes, like, because especially when they actually start going with you, just the fact of them running around drains their food meter, I guess you would call it. So you have to hunt stuff. And there have been times where, I mean, being a fox, you can like just find trash and you can just feed them from the trash, which does not hurt them in any way. Like there's not really a negative to doing it. Your head can get caught and you gotta free your head from like a bag, but um yeah, there aren't any super negatives that I'm aware of in terms of like feeding them different things, like being bad, whatever. But yeah, it's just you have to find food for them and keep them fed, and then get back to your den. I've certainly been like struggling because you can explore, and I've been like exploring places and been like, dude, oh my god, they're getting hungry. I gotta find food, but I'm like in the middle of this like sort of like factory. Like, where the hell am I gonna find food here? And barely finding food, like before they're gonna, I assume, starve because it's never empty for me. And then there are times where I am sprinting mad dash back to my den because it's like about to be sunrise. And again, I haven't experienced what happens if you don't get back in time, but yeah, there've been some really close calls. It can be pretty stressful.
That is so funny.
Yeah, yeah. Like Haley's sitting next to me as I'm playing it, and I am freaking out. I'm like, dude, I gotta get back. I gotta get back. I don't know what's gonna happen. I can't. I gotta get back, man. Yeah, I think it's a fun game. It's pretty short, but yeah, it's a fun one. I like it. Noah, what did you think of Endling Extinction is Forever, this game that you definitely played?
Yeah, Jaden, all right. It sounds like a wonderful game, but yeah, I dropped the ball on this one and I completely forgot to play it. I know.
Ah,
I know. Yeah, that's my bad. And I'm actually really upset because it sounds fun.
okay. Noah, did you at least prepare what the next indie bit game is going to be?
I did not do that either. Oh, I did have one. I'm gonna go with
Yeah.
another one though. because
Okay.
I want to play this game as well. So anyway, the next game is Humanity.
All right. I've never heard of that one.
It came out on PS Pass not that long ago, and it's just a weird game, so they say. I have not played it at all.
Cool. Yeah.
So
Oh well,
wait,
I
what?
will play that one, and we'll
How do
talk
you
about.
end this Fox game? Is there an ending?
Yeah. I did not reach the end in the time that I played it. I know just from looking up trophies, there are 30 nights. I ended like, I think it was like 20, 22, 23 was the last night I did. Yeah. I don't know how it ends. I gotta be honest. I think, I mean, more so than me. This is, I have to say, this might be our first unsuccessful indie bit. This is a very
Yeah,
upsetting
that's
time.
fair.
This is our first unsuccessful. We did not do it. Boo us, guys. We are
You
sorry.
got
We will try to be better.
mostly through it.
Mostly through, but yeah,
Yeah, I just forgot to play it.
yeah,
That one is on me.
yeah. This was not a successful indie bit, guys. I apologize. The Super
I
Gamer Bros
considered the
will
last one
strive.
unsuccessful.
By Inscription?
Yes,
No, that was we both played it.
you barely played it.
Yeah, but I don't like card games. Like I played it
Uh-huh.
enough to know, hey, I don't like this. See, no, if you had played it
All
and
those
said
walking simulators I pushed myself through.
they take way less time. If no, if you had played Extinction
Inscription
or
takes 8
Endling,
hours.
if you had played Endling and you were like, you know what, I did like maybe the first 10 nights and I just wasn't enjoying it, I stopped. I'd be like, all right, I get it. You didn't like it. That's fine.
Yeah, no, it's not that I didn't like it. I can't say that, anything negative or positive about it. I just
I
literally
mean, you
did
can't
not
say
play it.
anything about it. Yeah.
That's what I mean.
Uh, yeah. So guys, we're sorry. We'll try better next time. We are both going to play Humanity. We'll both have things to say about it.
We might have a lot to say about it, so they say.
Okay. We'll have things to say. Um, anyway, don't forget new episodes every other Monday. Rate and subscribe. Tell us if you like our show, or tell us if you don't. Tell us why if you want. Tell your friends and enemies about the podcast. You can follow our Instagram, the Super Gamer Bros, for updates on episodes. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Super Gamer Bros. That is one word, capital S, capital G, capital B, period at the end, where I upload videos every single day. And yeah, thanks for listening, and we will see you guys next game.
Bye.